This is Black Writers Read. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 14 of season 6 of Black Writers Read. My name is Nicole Young Martin, and I'm the producer, founder, and host of this series. Happy New Year. Hope your 2026 is off to a beautiful start. So before I launch into today's conversation, I have to know I'm a little nervous. And for folks who know me, that is not a word I use often. It's because today's guest is someone whose work I had an opportunity to live with. When I was in graduate school at Wayne State back in the 2000s, I worked on her play Buses as the tour company manager. And the work was so prolific to where I did a lot of deep research on Mary Ellen Pleasant. And she is someone that y'all need to get to know as well. Also, she is someone who I watched on television. My co-hosts, my dogs are already starting. They're excited too. And so as I do all of our guests, I fangirl them, give them tons of flowers. Today is an even special moment to do that because she's also a native Detroiter and has enjoyed and continues to enjoy such a prolific career. So let's go ahead and get today's chat started. Black Writers Read showcases, celebrates, and honors the words, work, and traditions of Black writers from across the country, across genres, across experiences, and across the African diaspora. Black Writers Read is a behind-the-scenes conversation into the craft and what it means to create as a Black author in today's society. Since starting the series during Juneteenth of 2020, we've hosted almost 100 writers representing over 15 genres from 6 countries and 26 states. Our platform includes the live stream interviews, which are joining us today, the audio podcasts, book clubs, and curriculum integration assistance. For more information, please visit us at blackwritersread.com. Today, we welcome author, actress, and activist Denise Nicholas. Miss Nicholas has enjoyed a prolific career in television, theater, and film, reaching national fame as a series lead on the groundbreaking ABC television series Room 222, a role that earned her 3 consecutive Golden Globe nominations for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. That's huge for a Black woman. Let me put that out there. And her work on long-running NBC-CBS drama series In the Heat of the Night. Nicholas also co-starred opposite Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier in several films. Nicholas is the recipient of 3 NAACP Image Awards and 2 local Los Angeles Emmys for producing and narrating the 1981 PBS special Voices of My People in celebration of Black poetry. Selected as one of the best books of 2005 by the Washington Post, the Detroit Free Press, the Atlanta Journal, Constitution, Newsday, and the Chicago Tribune, her debut novel, Freshwater Road, which I have a question for her about that, received critical acclaim, including the 2006 Zora Neale Hurston Richard Wright Award for Debut Fiction and the American Library Association's Black Caucus Award for Debut Fiction. Her work is also featured in a gathering of voices, stories from the Longwood Writers Workshop, which highlights her time with the Free Southern Theater in Mississippi and Louisiana during the most violent days of the Civil Rights Movement. I also, given that I read her book, and it opens talking about when she was born. She was born around the time of tumultuous times in Detroit, different outbreaks and race riots that happen in the city. I have a question about that because she's also a very amazing trailblazing activist. Nicholas attended the University of Michigan and Tulane University. She received her BA from the University of Southern California. Today, we'll be chatting about her memoir, Finding Home, which was released in November of 2025 and published by Agate Publishing. Finding Home chronicles her time growing up in Detroit, her trailblazing acting and writing career, her personal journey, and familiar loss. With eloquence, vulnerability, and resolve, Nicholas minds her 6-decade journey through the complexities of working on television and film, her 3 marriages, and her constituting her creative life to become a celebrated novelist, reflecting on the personal, professional, and societal pressures that buffeted her throughout, constructed of episodic reflections from both personal and professional high points and low points of her life. Nicholas navigates the intersections of love and identity, exploring how her experiences in Hollywood shaped her and understanding of success, intimacy, and commitment. Her narrative is rich with anecdotes from her career in Hollywood as an actor and later a successful screenwriter for television and eventually a novelist, providing a backdrop to the struggles and achievement that marked her path. She outspokenly discusses the challenges she faced as a trailblazing actress of color, shedding light on the systemic barriers and biases within the entertainment industry. This bio and book description that I offer here is only a snapshot into a brilliant mind and career. Learn more about Ms. Nicholas by visiting her website at denisenicholas.net, which I will be sharing links to purchase the book and also to learn more about her life online throughout our time together. For those of you who are new to Black Writers Read, here's the format. I will invite Ms. Nicholas to the virtual stage to share an excerpt from her work, and then we'll chat. If you have a question or kudos or congratulations or hello for our guests, please put it in the comment section from the platform you are joining us from. We have folks joining us from Facebook and YouTube. I will either insert the comment or the question at an appropriate time during our conversation, or I'll hold it towards the end. So again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And I'd now like to welcome Miss Denise Nicholas to the virtual stage.
Thank you. Thanks. That was great. You puffed me up really nicely. Thank you.
And I hope that you hear this a lot as someone who, because I am pursuing my own theater career and all these things, and still face a lot today as a Black woman from the US in 2025. Like, this book needs to be read by all of us who are in this path, because, and it's sad that, like, you've done all of this work and we are still facing
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It doesn't, I think I wrote a line in the book that the undertow of racism in this country never goes away. It's like a river that has no beginning and no end. It just keeps going.
Yeah. So I would love to turn it over to you to read an excerpt from your book. I'll go off screen. I'll come back on to interview you. I'm so excited to talk with you about your book. So happy reading, and I'll be back to chat.
Here goes. We insomniacs thought we heard in the middle of a night in 2009 that Farrah Fawcett had died after a long battle with cancer. By morning, we drank our coffee. The news was confirmed. We hadn't had a REM sleep nightmare as we tried to find sleep's comfort. She fought the good fight. Practically every family in America has suffered losing someone to one cancer or another. We're terrified of its pervasiveness. She was such a bright light. We began to believe that she might win. We wanted her to win, flashing her gorgeous smile on all of us. She was only 62 years old. By late morning, the new shocker of Michael Jackson's death began seeping out. As if we harbored disbelief, the news began to blast out of all televisions, all radios, to remove all doubt from our minds. As we tried to absorb this news, it dried on our disbelieving lips. We fought the news in our minds and hearts. How could this be? He's down there at the Staples Center rehearsing with his musicians and dancers and background singers, but the news doesn't stop. They go deep, wall-to-wall retrospectives of his monumental career, and some mention, too, of his troubles. On this day, the brilliance of his accomplishments as an entertainer were all we wanted to hear. He's gone. Leave the troubles over somewhere else and let us enjoy these memories. It felt as if a black feather quilt hovered over the city. We were at a loss for words to even describe how we felt. 2 minutes before that news hit, We were delighting in the fact that he was preparing to take his new show on the road, thrilled that he'd be center stage again with his astonishing talent. He was 50 years old. I sat on my patio staring at the yard, the pool reflecting the sky as the clouds parted to reveal the blue of blues. In the quiet, my head kept wagging side to side, thinking, what in God's name is going on in the world? The rumbling thunder of a helicopter approached steadily, that remarkable noise that sounds like a large living bird beating its wings against the heavens. Helicopters are a part of LA life. Police have them, as do banks and hospitals, the sheriff, the athletes, and other rich people. That sound to this day takes me right back to the Vietnam War footage from the early 1970s. It was Pavlovian for me. Hear that sound, remember that war. I sat back in my chair and stared up, recognizing the markings on the bird from the sheriff's office as it rumbled across my sky. Michael was going home. I knew by the timing that it was Michael on his last journey from UCLA Medical Center to the coroner's office downtown. It's a fairly straight shot right across the LA sky from the west side to downtown. I stood up, I nodded, and I waved goodbye. Though he died quite young, his awesome productivity gives us many different Michael periods to listen to as often as we like, from his little boy prodigy time to the brilliant creator he became. But we won't ever see those graceful, elegant moves, the sensual teases, the hardcore rhythms, as his feet seem to be enjoying a dancing life of their own. We gasped, applauded, and cried. It was so beautiful. He really did take our breath away.
Wow. Thank you for starting today's, because the second question I have for you is about loss, but like, and I remember when Farrah Fawcett died, and I totally forgot she was that young.
Wow. Yeah. I had to, I researched it because I did take notes on that day. I didn't know then that I was going to write about it, but I had the notes, and I had, I didn't follow her illness, but I knew she was struggling, knew she was fighting, because it was often reported that she had gone and tried some new therapy or some new treatment, and it worked for a little while, then it would stop working. So I had a close friend who was in a similar situation with a different kind of cancer, but he would have, go get special treatments in Europe or different places, and there would be a little improvement, but in time, and not a whole lot of time, he had pancreatic cancer. He passed. So the cancer thing it should be big in all of our minds, because it certainly is big in the world. I mean, we probably don't want to think about it, but we have to. Because it's knocking us upside the head all the time. We have to.
And then what's sad, and next we can get into the interview questions, what's sad is we have the money to do the research, and we have the expertise to do the research that's needed to keep these people alive.
Mm-hmm.
But folks in this country choose not to.
They choose not to. Yeah, we're in a bit of a pickle, I'd say. Especially now. Yeah.
So the first question I have for you, Miss Nicholas. So in prepping for today's interview, I watched other interviews with you. And one of the themes that was throughout was that I cannot believe this, you were like really introverted and shy as a child, and you were a bookworm. I'm like, I could see the bookworm, but the shy I couldn't see.
Yes.
So what sparked your interest in writing, and what do you remember your very first writing project?
I started writing, I would say in high school, because I loved my English classes most of all. I certainly did not like chemistry because I couldn't do it. And I could barely do, geometry. I really struggled in the math and sciences, but I was always pretty good with, political science or English and things like that. And that's who I am. So, I think that's where it began. But it also, even before that, I think had to do with reading a lot of books as a kid. Just all the romance novels of the 1800s, and the movie, and seeing all those movies on the stations that do those old Hollywood movies. And I was would stare and just watch all of it over and over and over. I think I've seen Wuthering Heights 45 times. But so that I wasn't thinking about writing when I was reading all those books, but those books laid some things into my head in terms of style and in terms of, knowing that some of those writers were ladies in England and, the Bronte sisters and things like that. Well, maybe, there's a little possibility over here kind of jiggling around in your brain. So I think I was looking for a way to be creative. And the first thing that hit was acting. But the other thing that hit later, writing, was the more profound one for me. So that's it. I mean, I love writing. I love sitting right at this desk and at 5 o'clock in the morning with my coffee. And this is where I work every day, every day.
Yeah. And thank you for that reminder, because myself as a writer, it's like I have to remind myself I have to get into the routine of getting up early and do the so thank you for reminding me of that routine.
Yes, it works.
Yes. In Finding Home, some of the things covered include familial loss and grief, which you did share an excerpt that talks a little bit about the loss that we experienced as a culture. You open the book talking about your mother who passed away before the book's release. And you close the book talking about your brother who recently passed as well. You also, this is a lot, you also mention your sister's passing back in the 1980s. Why was it important to you to mention these moments in your memoir? And how does grief shape who you are today?
Well, I think it's, I didn't start out even slightly imagining that there would be this much loss so close together. I think when we lose family members, and it's kind of spread out over long periods of time, and you get adjusted to that one before the next one happens. But in my family, they were coming so fast, there was no adjusting. So I think that makes recovery much, much harder, because it's so much. It's like you didn't lose one person, you lost half your damn family, which is what happened in my case. I mean, it didn't happen all at the same time, but it seemed to be happening so close together that it felt like everybody was. I got scared. I said, "Am I next?" And then I thought, well, I was alone. I'm alone in this world now, because my brother's gone, my sister's gone, my dad's gone, my mom's gone. My aunts and most of my cousins are gone. I have a couple left, So it's extraordinary. I couldn't have guessed that it would play out this way, but it has, and I have to deal with it.
Wow. And I'm not alone, but I'm in my mid-40s. I lost my parents in my 30s, and I have my brother with me. But I still have like a pretty big extended family. But when you lose those pivotal people, it's like, who are you today? It's like every day I wake up and I'm like, who am I? Like, because I lost the key people for myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really, especially opening about your mom, I needed that. I really needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are also known as an activist, having grown up in Detroit during significant turbulent times in the civil rights movement that started to emerge across the country. You were also involved in the Free Southern Theater. How does your identity as an activist show up in Finding Home? And why was it important to you to become an activist? And before I turn it over to you to answer the question, one of the things that I want to point out for folks who are watching, because I typically have a lot of students who watch, is you were an actress during like a big trailblazing time, the 70s and the 80s. And people don't realize, like when Cheryl Lee Ralph is interviewed about her time on like Dreamgirls, and we know all of you as really big actresses, but then to hear about all of the things you had to go through to do the work, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. At times it got pretty snarly.
Yeah.
But I think actors are always, my memories of my time being an actor, we're always so happy to get the work, and you vie for it, you compete for it, you pray and carry on, and you may get the job, you may not, you get the job, and then then there are all the other things that you have to deal with. I don't think I know lots of white actresses, they don't have to deal with the kind of stuff I've had to deal with. It's not even in their imagination to have to deal with the kind of crap, that Black people have to deal with. But, you do it as an actor and you smile because that's what the business requires. It does not require, and it does not allow complaining. It really doesn't. So you take your little complaints and go somewhere else. And if you don't like it, you go start your own. I mean, that's basically the attitude, that's the bottom, the core of it, even though it might be dressed up in a nicer moment. It's the business is it feels like it's slipping, but it has been a very powerful part of the culture of this country since, the 1917, 1918, 1919. So it's powerful, and it has shaped thought for generations. And that's an issue that we had started dealing with in the 70s and 80s. There's a little bit of a kind of a wake-up call for Hollywood, and it woke up for about 5 minutes, then it went back to sleep. But now, there are people, there are people doing good stuff. Ryan Coogler and others have taken it to a new level, and you just want to cry with joy because his work is stunning. And there are others. I named him because he's doing a lot of press stuff right now, and I see his name everywhere, which is great. So, yeah.
Yeah. Which, thank you for mentioning Ryan Coogler, because I'll never forget when I went to see Black Panther for the one. I took people to say, I went like 10 times in the theater, and it was right around the time my father passed, who was a huge comic book head when he was a child. And I still get chills thinking about watching it for the first time, and each time seeing the Marvel title card show up on the screen. And I was like, that's our story in mainstream culture. I was like, this is how, like, every time I cried. I was just like, this is really happening.
Yeah. Yes. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. In Finding Home, you explore some very vulnerable times in your life. How did you, and this is for me because I'm starting my memoir and I'm going writing about a lot of things. How did you check in with yourself, someone who has been able to maintain a fairly private life throughout your film and television career as you were writing?
I didn't hear the last part.
Yes. I'll repeat the whole question.
Okay.
In Finding Home, you explore some very vulnerable times in your life. How did you check in with yourself, someone who has been able to maintain a fairly private life as you were writing? So as you were writing and you're like, I'm telling this, should I tell this story? Should I not tell this story? Why am I telling the story? So can you talk a little bit about that process in terms of, because you are very vulnerable in this book.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to do a memoir for that reason. I had started working on a love story, and I had shown some of it to my publisher, and he loved it. But he came, and I say this line, if anybody's watched my interviews over the 2 months, I probably said it 40 times. But he said, I think you should do a memoir. And I said, I laughed. I said, are you afraid I'm going to croak anytime soon? Is that why you want me to get this memoir out? And he started chuckling. He said, no, but it is time. And I said, okay, I get it. I get what you mean. It is time. So, but I must tell you, it was hard because I am so private, and I didn't want to put all that stuff out there. And I tried to balance it so that I didn't want people to read a book by me that was lashing out at everybody who ever did me wrong, and I didn't do anything. I participated in my life, and when I had struggles and troubles, I was a participant. And if I didn't want to be a participant, I could have walked my happy hips out the door. So it was hard because I had to reveal my innermost thoughts and my successes, my failures, and you have to put it out there, but you have to find a lane that's comfortable. I did not, as I said earlier, I'm not about tearing anybody else down. So it was hard though. I kept stopping, and my publisher would call me and say, how you doing? I said, I'm not doing. I'm staring at this computer screen and I cannot discuss these marriages.
Yeah.
I said, but you must. I said, I can't. And then I figured out a way to kind of do it that was, that got the gist of the truth from my point of view, but without tarring and feathering anybody else.
Yeah, and thank you for doing it, because that's one of the things that I'm exploring with my book coach. I'm just like, I'm all about accountability for myself. And I'm like, I don't want to write something where it's like I'm shifting the blame and pointing the finger at everyone else, because for me that's not responsible. And it's also
Right.
it's good writing, but I don't like doing that sensational stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my thinking exactly. I
Mhm.
participated, so I have a part in all this. Even
Mhm.
when I made my mistakes are my mistakes. They're
Mm.
not somebody else's mistakes. So,
Yeah.
you have to own it. You do it, you own it. And
Yes, I love that quote.
uh,
I love that. I'm taking it as a quote. You do it, you own it.
okay, you got it. You can have it.
Thank you. I just have a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
Your novel Freshwater Road received critical acclaim. How were writing styles and writing processes different between the novel and the memoir? And how are they similar, especially since memoir is considered creative nonfiction?
Yeah. Well, I think that Freshwater Road to me is probably the best thing I've ever written. Um, it took a long, long time to write it, and it was and because I was writing about the civil rights movement, it was extremely important to me that I get it right, because I didn't want in any way to offend or lessen the extraordinary contribution that all the people who were involved in the movement have made and lost lives, lost families. All kinds of horrible things have happened in this process. So it wasn't anything I thought you could just kind of, dally around with. You had to get down and you had to get serious and you had to do your research and you had to make it work. You had to make it work for me, it had to be beautiful, because I'm not writing political science history of the civil rights movement. I'm writing fiction. And so though it is fiction, it is a fictionalized telling of that particular story, the summer of '64, particularly. I had to get it right. I had to, I had to not only make it beautiful, I had to find the horror and the pain and the beauty in that situation. And I think I had stored a lot of that up since I had been in Mississippi for 2 years off and on during the civil rights movement. So I had many, many memories, not just memories of horrible incidents or negative incidents. I had memories of flowers and trees and highways and streams and the whole context of it. So that is there too, and that was very important to me to paint a picture that was full and whole, that was not snarky. And the same thing with the memoir that we were talking about. It's finding the beauty and the truth in the moment. And it took a long time to write that book. And Freshwater Road came out of a workshop. Janet Fitch had a workshop that I was in for 3 years, and that workshop was so tough. That's where Freshwater Road really came to life, because the critiques that you got from the other writers, and there were, it was not fun and games. And I used to come home and drive up this driveway out here and sit in the car and cry, because I would get some critiques from those people like, oh God, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get this. So, but I kept working and working and working. I think I must have done, God, maybe 5 complete drafts of that book. Because when I started changing things and rewriting, I just throw the whole thing away and start all over, because I knew it would affect everything else. So it was like sweat in your armpits work.
Oh my gosh. You mean to tell me, because for folks, novels are like 200, 300 pages. So you mean to tell you wrote almost 2,000 pages?
I did. Yes, I did. I
Woo!
just, if I got notes that affected something on page 150, and I had to do a rewrite there, then I had to do the lead in to that to make it fit. And then I had to do the departure from that moment, because there's now a new energy, because this has changed, and that's what pushes the next scene. So yeah, I think I probably wasted a lot of paper, but I was a beginner, and I thought that was the only way I could do it. Of course, I wouldn't do that now, but I sure did it for that book. Oh my God. I think the paper companies would, they hate me. Oh, they love me because I bought so much paper.
Yes. And for folks who don't know, and for folks who are new, thank you for joining us. Black Writers Read, because I'm a writer and I'm an instructor and I'm involved in so many things. This is about the craft of writing. So thank you so much for sharing that insight into the writing process, because many people don't know. Yes, writing is solitary, but when you consider
Mhm.
the business of writing and when you want to publish something for the public to consume, you go to writing groups, you get feedback, you have
Yeah.
beta readers, you have like, and you get all this feedback thrown at you. And it's
Yes.
a lot to decipher.
It is. It can be painful.
Mm.
With the group that Janet had assembled in her house for this workshop that I was in, everybody was pretty supportive, but they were also very serious. So, for example, there is a love scene in Freshwater Road. The main character, Celeste, has a romantic sexual moment in the car outside on Freshwater Road. And the first draft of it, I took it in and I read it in class, and I hadn't ever written a love scene before, so I didn't know what I was doing. So there was one guy, one writer, one writer in the class said, "See, it takes place in the car." So he said, "This is not in a car. This is at a hotel, and it's a lovely hotel." He said, This is not rough. This is not a car. This is a nice, big, comfortable bed you wrote." So you got, and I
Yes.
said, he's right. It's not down and dirty enough to be in a car in the night in
Mm.
Mississippi in the 1960s. I made it so comfortable and pretty. It ain't pretty. Now, the passionate moment between these two people is beautiful. That's there, but the circumstance and the environment that they're in, please. He said, you got to go back to the drawing board. And I did. I went back. I said, okay, elbows here, knees here. That hurts my
Yes.
so you have to get there. You have to not be afraid to go there. You have to. You have to.
Yeah. Nice skirt in the front seat and leg over the bench, front
Yes.
seat, and yeah.
Steering wheel, hitting somebody, whatever. So, and you're talking about, those are in the book. They're all young people, so what kind
Yeah.
of sexual or sensual energy they have. It's it's up there near the top of the list of energy when you're that age. So yeah, yeah.
Yes. What is the favorite part of the writing process for you? And what is the most challenging part of writing?
I think this memoir was much more challenging in a way than Freshwater Road was, because
Mm.
Freshwater Road is an exterior story. It's not me, although it's coming through me. The memoir is much harder because as we talked a little bit earlier, I was trying to hide. I just didn't, and I really did not want to put my mistakes on blast. That's what I kept saying to myself, sitting right here. I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to do this. I can't. This, and then you get a call from how are you doing? Your publisher, how are you doing? Oh, I'm coming. I'm on. You go, okay, let me get this scene. Let me just do this and grit my teeth and just do it and stand up for yourself. And that's what it is. I have a point of view on all the mistakes I ever made. And my point of view is my point of view, and somebody else's point of view is theirs. But I do have a point of view about the things that I have experienced. So that's what I had to kind of get into that. It's like taking skin off of something and getting down to the core, the real, down to the seed, down to the seed.
I have two more questions for you. Given that you've now written about your life and you have a pretty big canon of work as an actor and screenwriter, what would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I think I I like the whole thing. That's my legacy. It's the whole kit and caboodle of my journey. I mean, I wouldn't exchange the 2 years I had in the civil rights movement with the Free Southern Theater for anything. It was as frightening and scary as it was the most important thing I've ever done, I think. And so that helped to shape who I am as a human being. And I am grateful that I was allowed to do that, as difficult as it was. I wouldn't have known Fannie Lou Hamer. I wouldn't have known Bob Moses and Rudy Lombard and all these people who were active in the civil rights movement. These are extraordinary people. And I was, because of that decision to go with the Free Southern Theater, I was able to at least be in the same room with some of those people and listen to them and understand their seriousness and their dedication to making changes for us in this country. So it was the best. So, but I also felt great about being in the Negro Ensemble Company in New York, in the first company. I mean, that was huge. It was huge. And I think when I look back on that, I'm much more proud than I was in the moment, because in the moment, I think I was terrified. I thought, oh God, I don't know if I can do this. And, you do step by step by step. And then my television career kind of picked me up and dragged me out of New York so quickly. So it changed everything. I had a whole change of aesthetics, almost a whole change, because television work, series work, and work on stage in the live theater are pretty far apart.
Very.
Not a whole lot of similarity there. But that world, the television world, and the film world, to me, is more like the theater world. It goes deeper. It takes more time, and it's more about a thing. It's about solving a problem, getting over a hump. It's all of that. And so, series television can be, and I guess it's gotten to be in some respects, there are some great shows. I'm hooked on Mobland from England. I don't know if you've seen it. I love the show. And it's gangsters. It's
yes,
total gangsters. And it is a great, great show.
Yeah.
There's nothing literary about it. It's just it's like cops and, well, it's not even cops. It's more robbers. Tom Hardy is the lead, and Helen Mirren is in it. I mean, the cast is incredible. Pierce Brosnan. And I mean, it's just a great gangster show. I mean, there's more guns and violence and people dying from The Godfather, but I love it. I always love gangster movies. I think I've watched Godfather 1 and 2 maybe 15 times.
Yeah. There's such great movies, and I need to start watching Mobland, because I'm trying to find new shows to watch, because when I'm not working, which is rare, I watch a lot of things in repeats. I've been watching a lot of Frasier, Golden Girls, all these other things, because I need a guaranteed laugh. And so
that's what I do with 2.5 Men. I've watched it. They took it off. I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown this week. I kept trying to find it, and it's not there anymore.
No.
I watch that every night before I go to sleep, because it makes me laugh. And I go to sleep smiling, because Charlie Sheen was brilliant. The whole cast was brilliant. I love that show. It's hysterical. And now I kind of watch some of Carol and All in the Family, because when it was on TV, I didn't watch it, because I don't want to see a show about a racist. I just don't. At that time, because remember, I was fresher from the South at that point. Now I can watch it and enjoy it. It's something.
And speaking of, before I go to my last question, speaking of the racism, so like rewatching the Golden Girls now, because in like my plays and things like that, I explore satire, and Blanche as a character cracks me up even more now. Like now, when I was younger, I didn't understand the episode about her wanting to join the Daughters of the South and finding out she has like Jewish lineage and things like that. That episode is now one of my favorite episodes of anything on television. She's like, I'm a Feldman, damn it. Oh my God. That episode is hilarious. I was just like,
I'm thinking those shows, the comedies of that period, I seem to have more depth than the later ones. I could be wrong. This is a personal opinion, but It was, I mean, even with Charlie Sheen's show,
Yeah.
they touched on a lot of things, even with silliness in the presentation, but the stuff was underneath it. There was seriousness,
Yeah.
the way he lived and his alcohol and his running through women like a river. And
Like a river.
the mother character was terrific, and that difficult relationship between her two sons and her, which was, they made it comedic, but it was great. It was good stuff. Good performances.
Yeah.
Even that little boy with those little cheeks, chipmunk cheeks.
Yes.
I loved it.
So before I get to my last question, an amazing question came in, and I love this question, and I would like to share it. As a trailblazing actress and writer, what are some of the best pieces of advice you have for individuals who want to break into the industry? I find that, which is true, I find there is still a ceiling and gatekeepers.
Well, that is true, and I don't know how to tell a person to get into this. You have to work. You have to get involved in areas of work that will bring attention to yourself, so you have something to show when you go in or try to get an audition. So maybe you do a theater piece, or help a student who's making a film do something, say at USC Film School or UCLA. These are small things, because there's so much competition to get in the door, or there has been over the years, so much competition for people who want to be in Hollywood. It makes it very difficult for newbies, people coming in who have not been seen by somebody and then kind of brought in. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm not being very helpful here, because it's a hard business to break into, generally speaking. But then you can find someone who does one role, and it attracts some attention, and their whole career is set for the next 10 years. So there's no one way. There's no one answer. There really isn't. And I wish I could be more helpful on that.
Yeah. And I'm somebody who, when I was an undergrad, I was like, I'm going to graduate and go move to New York City and do the Page program at NBC and all these things. And I'm like, I grew up in a working class family. Page programs didn't pay any money. Nobody's going to pay my rent. And so I had to, and I'm still in my mid to late 40s, exploring like, what is the break? But at the same time, it's like, I do have a career. Like, I do independent theater producing here in New England. I've done shows. So it's like, and then I've self-produced a lot of things. So a lot of times you have to be the one to put the work on. So do an Indiegogo campaign, fundraise, put on your own show, and invite people. A lot of times that type of work is going to be more rewarding, because you are going to have a foot in the process at every step, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even for my writing life, when I started the Longwood Writers Workshop, I was in a lull. I was I didn't know what to do with myself. I wasn't working. I had I wanted to write this love story. I wasn't sure. And also, before I moved Mom in here, I was living in here alone, and I was lonely, and the house was empty, and blah, blah. So I set up the workshop, and then I had 6 people in here every Saturday, every other Saturday, talking literature and books and writing. And we became like a little, quasi family, and we still are. But I created it because of my own loneliness and my own inability to have a healthy social life. I'm not that social. If it's about work, you can find me there. But just kind of like a party for party's sake, not so much. So, I mean, I did when I was younger, of course, but now I'm like, hey, I'd rather just sit here and watch TV or sit out in the backyard and drink some champagne.
Yes. And the last question I have for you, Miss Nicholas, what is next for you, and how can a Black Writers Read community support you on this journey?
I think, thank you for that. I think here for the next 6 months, it's just going to be about this book, because it did take 3 years to write it. So now paying bills. Getting the car fixed. Got some other projects around here that need doing. Get all that done. So, yeah, I'm going to write one more book. and it is a love story. And I found some notes that I made years ago, and they just appeared somewhere. And I read it and I said, oh my God, it was the whole story in about a page. I had made it into a 1-page thing. And I thought, oh my God, I said, this is beautiful. This is beautiful, Denise. You wrote this. So I'll get to work on that.
Nice. Well, Miss Nicholas, our time together has ended. I am so beyond honored to have you on Black Writers Read, and also to finally meet you, which I still have the article in my portfolio upstairs from grad school. I wrote an article on the experience of working on buses.
Buses.
Yeah, it's so, my God, for folks, it's about if Rosa Parks and Mary Ellen Pleasant, who are two women of their respective civil rights movements, were to meet at a bus stop. And oh my God, it's powerful. It's an amazing work.
It was my goal was to go back to it and fill it out some more, make it a little bit longer. Wow. I just haven't done it yet. But I fell in love with Mary Ellen Pleasant years ago. I went all up and down California doing research on her life before I wrote that piece. And there were stories. I went to the library in Berkeley, the California Library in Sacramento. I went all up and down California trying to find every little tidbit of information about this woman that I could find, because I'd never heard of her until somebody handed me the book. There was an early biography on her, which was the first, and that was like somebody gave me that book in the early 70s. But I didn't start writing about her until much later. But I couldn't get her out of my mind, because she was there was no other character like that in my study of our history. We have many, many, many extraordinary Black women over the course of our history, but none was quite like Mary Ellen Pleasant, because she was really, she was a gangster.
Yep.
She basically was a gangster. She was a female gangster in the 1800s.
Yep, gun in her pocket. Yep.
That's right. And she was serious. I mean, she was not taking no mess off nobody. She had more press in the San Francisco newspapers than celebrities get today. Yeah. I mean, she was the talk of the town.
Yeah. And ironically, you mentioned, and then I'll definitely wrap up. But ironically, so there's another connection in your book to buses. So St. Stephen's AME Church in Detroit. Dear friend of mine, amazing actor, Tony V. Walker, who passed away a couple of years ago. She was fairly young. She actually played Mary Ellen Pleasant in the production that I worked on, and her family went to that church.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my grandma's church.
Yeah. Because when I was like, when I was like, why does it sound familiar? And I Googled it and I was like, yup, that was Tony's church. I remember she took me to a weekend bazaar there, and I bought some glasses from my mama. I remember, I was like, yep, I know this
place. It was a big church in that community. It was strong. It was very strong. Mom, what I do in the book is I put my grandma's church in counterpoint with Mom's church, because Mom was Lutheran, so she was very quiet and we'd sit there and yeah, and then we go to St. Stephen's. It was like holy roller time. We went woohoo. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and same for me. My paternal grandmother, every big holiday, so I had my own church home. But my paternal grandmother, my cousins and I, we always spent the night, and we went to Nazarene Baptist Church on all the big holidays. And still to this day, I have memories. We'll be like, service starts at 11:30. We ain't getting out till 5 o'clock, y'all. Get ready. And we were small children. We would sit there drawing our Bibles, fall asleep.
Right.
Like, they passed in the 20th collection plate, y'all. What is happening? Or like the pastor would get the Holy Ghost, be like, yep, we're gonna be here at 5 o'clock today, y'all.
we used to sneak. I write it in the book. We used to sneak out and go down, pretend we're going to the bathroom downstairs, and then sneak out and go to the candy store down the corner, because church was long. That was fun.
And it's so funny, because here I've been in New England now for 20 years, but I haven't really gotten into the culture here. And I I did some work recently in Springfield, Mass. And Springfield, Mass is a lot like the east side of Detroit, very much so. And I'm like driving through town. There's a lot of churches there too. Driving to it's 12:30 on a Sunday. All the parking lots were empty. I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
And I asked a friend of mine, and she's like, yeah, we in church early here. And I was like, y'all ain't seen nothing until you had to go to church and literally be in service sitting on the hard wooden pews.
That's right, all day.
All day. But I passed like 3 church parking lots, and I was like, it's 12:30 on a Sunday. Why are they empty? I was like, wait a minute.
You have been brainwashed.
Right. I was like, I should have grew up in New England, not Detroit.
That's funny.
Well, Miss Nicholas, thank you. Oh my gosh, this was such an amazing afternoon. Thank you so much for making time to chat about your book.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed our conversation very much. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So everyone, thank you. And I'm gonna like end us, and I just want to touch base with you for like 1 second. This will be very quick.
Okay.
Yes. So thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon for Black Writers Read. I will be back tomorrow, Sunday, January 18th, to speak with Cedric Muhakira about his debut novel. He is a current Detroiter. He immigrated to the U.S. from Rwanda. I'm so excited to have him on. He was supposed to be on last week, but we had some scheduling issues, so he'll be on tomorrow. Support Black Writers Read by subscribing to my YouTube channel, where many of you are joining us from today, or find us on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, and Amazon Music. On the podcast, you will hear replays of these interviews, but there's also a lot of bonus material. Also, I'm on Patreon under Black Writers Read. And when you subscribe to the podcast, please leave a review. The algorithm and helps other people to find us. Please follow me at blackwritersread.com. I'll be posting about more guests coming up. The spring is extremely packed. I have some amazing people coming on over the next couple of weeks. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and more importantly, for ensuring that Black writers continue to matter. I'll see you tomorrow.